Abba Yahuwah, I just want to praise you and I just want to thank you, my Father, for this evening. And I just want to thank you as we continue to look at our book of Shemot. Oh, wow, Father. I just want to thank you. I stand in awe of who you are and the way you work things out and what you do and how you are opening up this book to us in such a miraculous way. It's just so amazing that we happen to be working through our Torah portions, being at this very time, right now, working through Shemot, and at the same time, working through this as we're doing Exodus at the moment, as we are doing our teachings with manna from heaven. That is where we find ourselves right now. And even as we are looking at a foundational covenant right now, everything is just tying in because this is what you are wanting to say to us in this hour. And Abba, I stand in awe when I am able now to share these truths with the people that are even church people, that now it's like it's sinking in. They are understanding, but this is a pattern. But this is what was given to us. And so if we really want to understand the gospel, and we really want to understand the message that was given already by Yahushua when he came. He was a deliverer for us, the one who came to deliver us, the one who came to give us salvation. Yahushua, the one who is Yah, that comes to deliver, to save, to set the captives free, just like Moshe was chosen to be able to bring the people to a place of where he too could come and be a deliverer for the people, a type of Yahushua. And so, Father, when we really sit down and we look at this book of Shemot, this book of names, and when we really understand the revelation that you are sharing with us, for us to understand the bigger pattern of what it is that you are laying out for us, everything was laid out already in the book of Shemot, because everything was about your name. You start off by being able to raise up names of tribes that make up a house. So this book is looking at a house of people that is going to be those that are going to have to be the house that's going to have to reign and rule with you in the end days. And everything is about the two sticks becoming one stick. And this is part of your plan. This is your greatest love story, where you are gathering your tribes and building for yourself a house. You are finishing off what was ultimately started, which came with David and then followed with Solomon, and unfortunately got broken by the time we got to Rehoboam, where this house became divided. And we are a house divided. And we are divided in so many different ways. We are divided in the fact that we are not a house. And now we are divided in so many denominations. And we are divided in our doctrines. And we are so divided. But Abba Yahuwah, I praise and I thank you that you can just lay out for us a foundation that will be able to come to a place of being able to gather your people once again, to be able to say, this is a foundation. This was the plan. This is what the pattern is about. And once we have a pattern, it's so much easier for us to be able to share with the people that don't want to be able to return back to truth. But Father, when I see the excitement on people's faces, people that have never heard such a message, people that you can't really go to and try and tell them to come back to Torah, But when you share the pattern, they stand back in awe and say, wow, this is from the Father. And it's so easy to be able to lay it out. And so, Abba Yahuwah, I want to thank you for the revelation that you are giving in this hour. I want to thank you for the simplistic way in which you speak and how you will open up your scriptures to us. Thank you, Father, that you open up your scriptures so that we will have your mind of understanding, that we open up our hearts in order to be able to understand the fullness of that which you want to be able to share with us, so that we can lay out this foundation so that many can go and share it with others, because this is what this is about. We need to be able to start equipping the people to go out and share the message with people and know how to share it. And so, Abba Yahuwah, I just want to thank you because we are those that are to be commissioned. We have a great commission. And our commission is to go forth and to be able to teach the people everything that you have taught us. And your foundation started, you said we cannot build a house on the wrong foundation. We need to build a house on a solid foundation. And our foundation is our foundational covenant. And so I thank you, Father, for this book of Shemot that is truly opening up to us, Father, for us to be able to understand the deeper things of what you're wanting to reveal to us. So I commit this time to you right now, Abba, and I ask you that you alone will be able to come and speak to my mind and speak through my lips the very oracles that come from you. I thank you, Father, that this seed will fall on good soil. I thank you, Father, that you will search out the people that need to hear these messages. I praise and I thank you for this in Yahushua's name. Amen. Praise Abba Yahuwah. And so we are going to continue. Before we start going deep into the understanding of our commands, because once we get into the understanding of the commands, we will understand the fuller picture of what the Father was wanting us to be able to understand. That these commands are not just 10 commandments that we ought to keep because it's just, we have to keep the 10 commandments. But we will understand what was the Father's plan from the beginning and what was his intention in being able to prepare the people in order to be able to come and stand before him, which is why we've looked into Exodus chapter 19 in great detail for us to be able to now get to Exodus chapter 20. But we are right now laying a foundation to understand that makes it easier for us to be able to share with people. If we just start to talk to people and we say to them, well, you know what, you need to return back to the commands, you need to get this, you need to do this, you need to do that, and we speak to them like that, they do not want to listen. But when a foundation is laid and when we have these oracles being opened up to us, it's so much easier to be able to share with people when the mind of their understanding is being opened for them to see. But there is a pattern. And so when the pattern is laid out for us, it's so much easier for us to be able to understand what we go through and why is it that we go through what we go through and why is it that we teach what we teach, because it is a pattern that has been laid out for us. And that pattern will speak volumes in order to be able to help us in the days ahead when we are going to have to be the light that's going to have to share these truths with the people that are coming. Because at the end of the day, we need to have balanced scales. We need to have scales that need to be balanced. And we need to be able to understand that Yeshua has come to be able to not do away with our foundational covenant, but to establish our foundational covenant for us so that we may be able to walk in the fullness of spirit and truth. And that is why we are really looking at the book of Exodus. And it's amazing, because if I had not returned back to doing the Torah portions, according to the Father's timeline of his calendar, I would not have come to this revelation. But because I have returned back to being obedient to doing the Father's Torah portions according to His timeline, according to His calendar. These things have now been opened up, because these chapters I've already covered months ago. But now we're having to go back. So do you see how amazing it is when we align ourselves with the Father's timeline, when we align ourselves with the Father's purposes and plans, and that which the Father is doing, when we start to work the fields that He's working, when we start to align ourselves with Him, when we start to plant where He's cultivating, that is where we will see the blessing. It's not for us to move out of where He's not moving. We are to move where He's moving. So it's all wonderful to be able to sit and do these Torah portions and work through them with cycles and cycles that's been given to us for generations now, for however many years that these cycles have been given to us by these rabbis, and we've been following the cycle systematically. And yet at the end of the day, all of a sudden, when we come onto His timeline, there is a new revelation that has been given to us. Because why? Because we are in a timing of when He's the one that wants to align things with what His purpose and His plan is. And so that is where I am in my life right now, that I'm saying, I want to be able to plant where He is cultivating. So if this is where He's moving, that's where I want to be. I want to be part of what He's doing. I want to be part of where He's moving, because we can do many things. We can be busy with many things, but if it's not ordained by Him, then it's just good works that we offer. So this is just where I am, to be able to stand and see where is the Father moving, and move where He is moving. And so from the time that He's put us on this calendar, He is opening up revelation that we have known, but a pattern that has not really been revealed, except for now it's starting to make all the more sense, and everything is opening up that was not really opened up in the fullness, because from the fact that it's now the time to have the eyes, because after Shavuot, what was it? He opened up the mind of their understanding for them to be able to understand the Scripture. And this is what He's doing in this time. This is what He's doing in this hour. This is what He's going to do now. And so, not last week, but the week before, we were discussing, as we started, with the significance of the book of Shemot, and that this book of Shemot is the book of, that the purpose of it is to proclaim and establish the Father's name, and to establish a house. That's their name. Every one of those tribes is an utterance of our Messiah's characteristic of what He's come to do in the whole. So every single tribe, behold a son, Reuben. So every single name of every single tribe of the 12 tribes is significant of the outlook of who Yeshua is. And then it ties back to then going back to the book of Revelation. So He starts it in Shemot, He ends it off in Genesis, carries on with it in Shemot, and then by the time we get to the book of Revelation, these 12 tribes are coming together. And that whole, the name of every one of those 12 tribes is a prophetic utterance for the bride of the 144,000. It is a prophetic utterance for them. And that is what we looked at when we did the 144,000, when we did the whole teaching. All of that was opened up to us. I'm just going to go to my book and see. Maybe I need to read it to you. That I want to read what this book actually, when we look at the whole meaning of those 12 tribes in the book of Revelation, what does it mean? What does it mean? So, now for me to be able to find where it is. The message of the 144,000. This is when you look at every one of those 12 tribes and you write it down. So understand, the book of Shemot starts with the house of Israel and these 12 tribes. In the book of Revelation chapter 7, you're looking at 144,000, 12 tribes that are coming together from a house, because I'm saying everything's got to do with a house. Now listen to what the message is of these 12 tribes at the end. They are a shoot that will become a praise in all the earth, and Yahuwah will be praised through them, because they behold the Son, Yahushua. They are a troop that Abba will use to invade and attack for his kingdom. They will attack the darkness kingdom, not each other. They are called blessed. They are blessed. They are happy. They have wrestled. But they have overcome. And Abba has caused them to forget their pain, their suffering, their misunderstood, their being misunderstood, their hardships, their trials. They heard his call. They listened. They obeyed. They are joined to Abba. They are joined to their King Yahushua. They are joined to each other, one house. They love each other. Abba will recompense them. He will bring reward. He will lift them up and support and sustain them, because they dwell with him. They made him their habitation. Therefore, Abba will bring increase, and he will join them to be seated with Yeshua in heavenly places, who is the one seated at the right hand of Abba Father. That is a house. So you see, he's giving us this book to understand. It's all about the end of the book is raising up a priesthood. It's when he's going to raise up his tabernacle, and he raises up his priesthood. And so this is what we've got to understand. The book starts with names of 12 tribes, and in the end, it's going to end up with the whole of those 12 tribes were supposed to be priests for his kingdom. But instead, he chose a tribe. And now at the end of the book, he's going to have 144,000 that are going to be his priests. Yet we all called to be his priests. The whole of Israel was called to be his priests. Yet they had a choice to make. They had to choose. And so everything is about the choice that we have to make. And so we looked at the fact that then he came to reveal his name. And what is interesting, and this is one thing that I didn't speak of then, is that if we have a look and we see in Exodus chapter 3, when he appeared to Moshe, it was on Mount Horeb. Now Mount Horeb is the same as Mount Sinai. It's the same mountain. It's the same mountain that there's going to be. He's revealing himself in the fire only to Moshe, because he's going to raise up Moshe to be able to become his type of Messiah that is going to have to deliver the people. But then he's going to bring the people to that same Mount Horeb, where he's now going to be able to bring the fire and the lightning and the thunder for all these people to be able to see him, just as Moses saw him. So that it wasn't about him revealing himself only to one person, but he wanted to reveal himself to the whole house. Right now, he chooses Moses. Moses says he can't speak, so he's got to choose with Moses Aaron. But then, Father's intention is about a house. Because remember, when this starts, it starts with the names of a house. So this whole book is about the names, and it's about names of the Father. So here we laid our foundation that has everything to do with the name. And so when we get to chapter 6, we have a look in chapter 6 that we see where he says in chapter 6 verse 1, and Yahuwah said to Moshe, now see what I do to the Pharaoh, for with a strong hand he's going to let them go, and with a strong hand he's going to drive them out of his land. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe and said to him, I am Yahuwah. And I appeared to Abraham, to Yitzhak, and to Yaakov as El Shaddai, and by my name Yahuwah was not known to them. So understand? This is where we are today. Where we are today is the fact that we have a house. We have a house of Israel that's made up of 2 tribes. We have a house of Judah which is made up of 2 tribes. We have a house of Israel that's made up of the lost tribes of the house of Israel. We have a house that needs to become a house. And the house has been void of the Father's name. So in the tribe of Judah, which is the 2 of the tribe of Judah, Benjamin and Judah, which are the ones that are in the land of Israel right now, they call him Hashem, they call him Adonai, and they do not call him by his name. So those 2 tribes do not call him by his name. So they don't know him by the name of Yahuwah because they don't call on the name of Yahuwah. And then you've got all these that are being grafted into the house because the covenant was made with the house of Israel, and we are being grafted into this house. The house of Ephraim is being grafted in to become a house of 12 tribes, and the house of Ephraim are these Christians that are now being grafted in. They have a choice to be grafted in. They're either going to return back to a covenant or they're not. And we will see today what will be part of those that will not return back to a covenant. So they have been grafted in. And even these people have lost the name. They call him Lord and God and Lord and God and Lord and God. And they call God different names in different languages. So if you take the Ethiopian people, they call him Zadiar. You know, if you take it in Madagascar, they call him Adyamantra. So if you, in Afrikaans it's God. And so, or then Lord is Yera. So it's different names that we call him by. Titles. And some of them names of other gods. But we do not call him by his name. So you see, just like he had a title of El Shaddai. El Shaddai, the all-sufficient one. That is an attribute of who he is and what he does. He is the all-sufficient one. But that all-sufficient one has a name. And the name is Yahuwah. Yahuwah. Because we say, Yeremi Yahu. Yeshiyahu. Yehuda. Yerushalayim. It's a wu, which is the vav. And so he was not known by his name. But as we looked at Isaiah chapter 52 verse 6, my people will know my name in that day. And this is the day that we are in. So this is why he has gone and wants to reveal his name. And now, it's like I said, I'm like a broken record over this because we are in that hour. Because it's exactly like it was. This is a pattern. The pattern is we have lost his name. Just like them was all more than 400 years. They had never been revealed his name. His name was not revealed to Abraham. He was revealed to Abraham as El Shaddai. Now to Moses he's saying, this house will have my name being put on them. This house will be known by my name. Why? Because I am going to make a name for myself, because I'm going to destroy all your gods. And therefore, my name has to be exalted. So that's why we looked at Exodus chapter 9, verse 16. It says, for this reason I have raised you up, in order to show you my power and in order to declare my name in all the earth. So if his name is to be declared in all the earth, what name are we declaring? Lord and God? Lord and God is not a name. Lord is used as a title even for a man. And we are going to understand when we come to the 10 Commandments what the third commandment is all about. We are really going to understand because people are too blasé about this. They say, it doesn't really matter, Natalia. Well, we are going to understand a pattern. And if the Father is busy with a pattern, it's because this is important. He didn't come and say, this will be my name forever throughout all your generations, because it's not important. If he turned around and he said, this is my name forever and this is my remembrance to all generations, then it's because it is important. And so my people have forgotten my name. My name is being despised all day continually is what is going on. So basically, if we then have a look at Exodus chapter 4, Exodus chapter 5, Exodus chapter 7, leading up to Exodus chapter 11, is all going to cover the 10 plagues. So all of this was going to cover the 10 plagues, and we are going to cover these plagues again, as we are going to be able to look at our 10 commandments. And when the Father had me do the 10 plagues, He said, link them up to the 7 days of creation. And I said, Father, how does a person do that? So we are going to look now at the combination of the whole thing. Once we're going to be able to, once we've laid our foundation, we are going to understand why the Father wants us to look at this. Because then we will understand our purpose and our plan, and why the Father had to bring those plagues, and why the Father is going to bring those plagues again. Because if you do not understand why He brought the plagues, you will not understand why He's going to have to bring the plagues again. Because again He's going to have to make a name for Himself, because the people do not want to bow down to Him. The people serve their idols, and the people serve their own gods. And the people have raised themselves up as gods, and this is what is going on in the world right now. And that is why He's once again going to bring the plagues. And that is why we have to understand what was the foundation that was given to us in the 7 days of creation, and why did He bring the plagues, and what was the purpose for Him bringing the plagues, and what is He going to do by giving us the 10 commandments? What is the purpose of Him giving us commands? And this is when the whole pattern is going to come together for us to be able to understand. Then we get to chapter 12. And chapter 12 is so significant because, you see, once we understand our pattern, then we understand what we are supposed to be teaching people. If we do not have a proper foundation, then what do we teach people? So do you see what has happened? We got saved, and after we got saved, we didn't even get revealed the Father's name. I mean, the first thing that Moses did when he came face to face with the Father, the first thing that he did when he came face to face with his people that he's going to deliver was to reveal His name. To reveal the Father's name to them. And that is why we read the last time that in John chapter 17, Yeshua spoke and He said, I came to reveal your name to those that you gave me. And Father, sealed them off in your name. So this pattern is going to be very important, because this pattern brings the sealing off of His name, and the sealing off of what was given from the beginning. What is the seal that was given from the beginning? And these are the things that we must understand. Because the pattern has been put there from the beginning. And the pattern has not changed. Because this is our foundation. What is the Torah? The Torah is our foundational covenant. We have to understand that the Torah is our foundational covenant. And so He starts and He gives us Exodus chapter 12. And in Exodus chapter 12, He starts with a new pattern. A new foundational pattern for us now. And He says, this new moon, so He says, and Yahuwah spoke to Moshe and to Aaron in the land of Mitzrayim, saying, this new moon is the beginning of new moons for you. It is the first new moon of the year for you. Speak to all the congregation of Israel, saying, on the 10th day of this new moon, each one of them is to take for himself a lamb according to the house of his father, a lamb for a household. So understand, here we get to see a timeline. He puts us on His timeline, on His calendar, how He wants to be served. Here we see how we get told when the calendar begins, when is the new year, when is the first feast, how to keep the first feast. But now, we will now as man come and say, no, the first month is not actually in March. The first month will be now in Tishri, which is the 7th month, which is now when the Jews want to celebrate a new year. And we will now say, that is now the new year. That is now the first month. But yet our Bible say the 7th month. Do you see how man just constantly wants to violate a pattern that was put there from the beginning? Now, this is being laid out for us now as a foundation. Because why? Because the Father is saying, this is my pattern. So if the year begins then everything begins then. You don't follow what the Jews do, because the Jews are following their pattern. If this is what He said in His word, this is the pattern that was given. And this is when the year begins. And He tells you explicitly how it's to be done. And now, you must understand, He is going back to the understanding of what He has put in the 7 days of creation. Because in the 4th day of creation, He clearly put there that it's the sun, the moon, and the stars that establishes the Moedim. So He's saying, you are going to keep your new year according to my pattern of my Moedim, of when I've got Moedim, and my feasts will be kept my way. And if we look and see, is this what we've been taught? So we received Messiah Yahushua, and then we were taught to know what His name is. We were taught that we're actually part of a house. We're part of a covenant people that is part of a house. And we are actually to go and understand our covenant and who the covenant is made with, and that we are a covenant people. And then, part of this covenant people, we are sealed with a name, and then we are to be able to keep His pattern, His way. No. This is not what we were taught. We went to church, we received Jesus, and now you are saved, you're going to go to heaven, and you don't need to worry about anything, because He's here to prosper you, He's here to bless you, and you can carry on with your life as you wish. And now you get given Christmas, and now you get given Easter, and now you get given all these other pagan holidays, and we get pagan festivals, and we will keep pagan festivals, but then we think we are pleasing to the Father by keeping our pagan festivals when He has given us a foundation in this Bible. Do you see why the Father is going to shake everything that's going to be shaken, and we are going to return back to truth? And that is why I'm saying, I want what this Bible says. I'm not interested in this one's calendar and that one's calendar and all these calendars that are out there. I want to be able to follow what this Bible says and what does the Bible tell me to do. Because if He said He put the 4th day of creation, and it's interesting, on the 4th plague is the plague of where the Father divided Goshen. He put His people in Goshen, and from the 4th plague they were no longer going to be judged. And interesting, it's the 4th command that is the command of the Sabbath. Interesting. So, what Sabbaths are we keeping? Do you understand? So, He's saying, speak to all the congregation, and you are going to understand this pattern, because it's at this feast when there's going to be a plague that's going to hit of the firstborn having to die. They had the plague of the darkness, and straight after the darkness, the plague is going to come of death. So if we are not going to keep a feast according to His feast, if we're keeping the feasts of the world and enjoying Easter, and we are celebrating Ishtar with Easter bunnies and Easter eggs, what protection do we have with Easter bunnies and Easter eggs? And attach our Messiah to that. We are deceived. And it's time to be woken up out of our sleep and out of our slumber and come back to the truth of this word. And on the 10th day of this new moon, each one of them is to take for himself a lamb according to the house of his father, and a lamb for a household. Yeshua became the perfect lamb. And on the 14th day, it says, and you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same new moon. Then all the assembly of the congregation of Israel shall slay it between the evenings. Day begins at sunset. Day does not begin at 12 o'clock at night. Day does not begin at sunrise. Day begins at sunset. When the sun is setting, the day begins. And so the new moon begins at the sunset in the west. The new moon, the slither of the new moon, which could have been tonight, because tonight is the 29th day, which where we are, we cannot see anything because it's rain clouds are here in the sky, so we can't see. So we're waiting to hear reports if the new moon was spotted or not. Otherwise, it will be tomorrow night. And so we are to keep the calendar according to the calendar that he gave. And this calendar is, he wants offerings. He wants an agricultural offering at this time of this calendar. He wants the alignment with sun, moon, and stars. And we understand the moon establishes the month. So the moon is the one who establishes the Moedim, establishes the appointed time. So there's people out there doing Enoch calendars and sun calendars, and they totally are eradicating the moon, and therefore they are doing their own thing and not coming back to what it says with creation, because understand, everything over here must tie back to creation. The Father brought the plagues for a reason, because he's coming up against every god of man, every god that man serves, and where man has become a god. And this is why he's bringing the plagues. And so why is he bringing back the commands? Because man needs to be able to be established in his ways, because man has gone astray. And this is exactly where the Israelites were. So we know that then the assembly of Israel, congregation of Israel, shall slay it between the evenings. So on the 14th day the lamb is slain. Then they were to be able to put the blood on the lintels of the doors. And it says on verse 14, and this day shall become to you a remembrance, and you shall celebrate it as a festival to Yahuwah throughout your generations. Celebrate it as a festival, an everlasting law. Now if he says law, then you better understand that nowhere has it gone and done away with, because it's an everlasting law. So if he says, my name has to be established, my name shall be spoken and adhered to and declared forever throughout your generations, then that is what we need to be doing. Not, oh, it's too holy to be spoken. We can't speak the Father's name like the Jews say, oh no, we're just doing it out of reverence. No, the name was removed because of the way they behaved. They were an abomination. They profaned his name, therefore he removed the name from their lips. That is why we are now to be able to re-establish his name and to raise up his name, to once again establish his name, to revere his name, to honor his name, to raise up his name. Because he says, my name, this is my name forever, and this is my remembrance to all generations. Forever. He didn't change it. He didn't change it. He didn't change it when all of a sudden we got, the Paleo-Hebrew was your first Hebrew that was there. He didn't change it when it came to modern Hebrew all of a sudden and put a va as opposed to a wu. We are not going to say Yahweh or Yehovah, and now we're going to put a va because all of a sudden it's the modern Hebrew that's been put there. No, we have not put a va. It's a wu because it was given, established from the beginning. It doesn't change. It is forever. Man has changed it, but he didn't change it. So your most ancient manuscripts is written in Paleo-Hebrew. And the vav in Paleo Hebrew was a woo sound, was never a va sound. There's no va or wa. It's a woo. So, we see that he says, this is now when he puts it as a law forever throughout your generations. And then he tells you that you shall guard the festivals of Matzos, for on this same day I brought your divisions out of the land of Mitzrayim, and you shall guard this day throughout your generations as an everlasting law. So, we are to keep the festival of Matzos. 7 days we are to keep this festival. We are to keep the Passover for that on the 14th night, and then that night we eat the unleavened bread, and then that will be a high holy Sabbath. The last day of the 7 days is a high holy Sabbath, and this is what we are to do. This is what we are to do. But now we want to keep an Easter. And now we keep an Easter on a Friday, and then he resurrects on a Sunday, and so we only keep an Easter. We eat our pork at the time of Easter. We eat what is unclean. We do our thing. We celebrate not even 3 days, because that's not 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the earth. It's not 3 days and 3 nights. If he died on a Friday and resurrected on a Sunday, where's that 3 days and 3 nights? It's not there. And so, what are you doing by not having to keep? Remember, by them keeping this feast, it was their protection. If you don't believe me, let us go and look and see. Let's go look at Exodus chapter 5. Let's go look at Exodus chapter 5 verses 1 to 3. Exodus chapter 5. Listen to what he says. And afterwards Moshe and Aaron went in and said to the Pharaoh, thus said Yahuwah, Allah of Israel, let my people go so that they celebrate a festival to me in the wilderness. So you see, they were going to come out of Egypt, out of Mitzrayim, and then they were to go and keep a festival. And the Pharaoh said, who is Yahuwah? So you see, these people in the world will turn around and say to you, but who is Yahuwah? Because they don't even know who he is. They don't even know his name. If you speak the name of Yahuwah to a worldly person, they say, who are you talking about? I've never heard this name. That I should obey his voice to let Israel go. I do not know Yahuwah, nor am I going to let Israel go. And they said, Allah of the Hebrews has met with us. Please, let us go 3 days' journey into the wilderness and slaughter to Yahuwah our Lua, lest he fall upon us with pestilence or with the sword. Wow. If they do not go and celebrate the festival to Yahuwah, they will have the pestilence and the sword come upon them. Interesting. At the very time that they are keeping Passover, not Easter, Passover, eating their lamb at Passover, the angel of death is going through the land and killing the firstborn. If you have not got your lamb, and you do not have the blood of the lentils of your heart, and sitting down and eating a festival that was told you to do forever throughout your generations, what protection do you have? Remember, just before this, they had the 3 days of darkness, getting ready for the destruction of the death that's going to come. Revelation chapter 9, from verses 1, it says that then there's going to be a star that's going to fall from the heavens, and then there will be darkness upon the earth. The sun will not give its light. Its darkness is going to come. And straight after that, there's going to be the scorpions and the locusts that are going to come out like these men that are scorpions and locusts in a body that's going to come and destroy mankind. So, who's going to be protected? Those that are sealed. Who's the ones? They are not to harm those that have the seal of Yahuwah, which is the 144,000 that was sealed with his name and sealed with his seal, and the seal is his commands, his Sabbath, his commands. Deuteronomy chapter 6 verses 1 to 8. The seal that they obey His commands. So then we will look at the next pattern that we have. Then we go to Exodus chapter 14. In Exodus chapter 14, we have a look and we see Exodus chapter 14. So in Exodus chapter 13, they are going to be able to, we go through the whole of Exodus chapter 12. Exodus chapter 12 is the understanding of this feast that they are to keep. It's the Passover, which they keep, which they slaughter the lamb in between the evenings of the 14th day to the night of the 15th. That night, on the 14th day, that night begins the 15th day. That's the new day, which is the 15th day. That's your high holy Sabbath, when your feast of unleavened bread starts. And then you are to keep the feast of unleavened bread for 7 days. That's why they were to make unleavened cakes. They were going to keep the feast of unleavened bread. And the last day of the feast of unleavened bread, the 7th day, will be a high holy Sabbath for them as well. And then at the end of chapter 13, he says, and verse 21 and 22, and Yahuwah went before them by day in a column of cloud to lead the way, and by night in a column of fire to give them light, as to go by day and night. So do you see, He was the cloud by day, He was the pillar of fire by night. And what is this showing us? That the Father is going to lead us and guide us, as He was a cloud by day for the people. His presence of His Ruach HaKodesh is with us as a cloud by day, and He will be our fire that we feel in our warmth of our lives, as the fire by night to be able to lead them. Yeshua is the one who is that pillar of fire and the cloud by day, just like Yeshua is the one that had to die and resurrect for us, and He was resurrected for us, and He's the one that will lead us and guide us by the Ruach of Yahuwah. That is the one that leads us and guides us, just like there was going to be a pillar of fire by night and a cloud by day. And the column of cloud did not cease by day, nor by the column of fire by night before the people. So neither will the Ruach of Yahuwah leave us, as the Father's presence will be with us day and night and night and day and day and night and night and day, when we are surrendered and submitted to Him. He's the one now leading us and guiding us in the way that we are to go, when we have now surrendered and submitted ourselves to Him and to His leading and to His guiding. Then in Exodus chapter 14 we see that now the army of this Mitzrites raises up, and these Israelites are standing, and in verse 12 it says, "Is this not the word that we spoke to you in Mitzrayim, saying, leave us alone and let us serve the Mitzrites, for it would have been better for us to serve the Mitzrites than to die in the wilderness? Is this not what we say and what we do when we see ourselves between a rock and a hard place, and we don't know which way to turn?" And yeah, these Israelites are, they have the Red Sea in front of them. They have the Mitzrayim's army behind them. The Pharaoh and his army is coming out to want to kill them. They got the Red Sea in front of them, and where are they going to go? And Moshe said to the people, "Do not be afraid. Stand still. Be still and know that He is Yahuwah, and see the deliverance of Yahuwah, which He does for you today. For the Mitzrites, whom you see today, you are never, never to see again." So the Father brings us to that place, which is what I started off by sharing with you all tonight, when I said the shaking is going to come. And the shaking is coming upon the earth. Abba's judgments are starting to come upon the earth, and people are being shaken in different areas. But the shaking should position us to be able to become more and more into the position of what the Father has ordained for us, for our lives, for the hour and time and season that we find ourselves in. And he says, and Yahuwah does fight for you, and you keep silent. So what is it that the Father wants for our lives? The Father doesn't want us to be able to fend for ourselves. The Father is the one that wants to fight for us, and we are to hold our shalom. When we are totally and utterly submitted and surrendered to Him, He will be the one to fight for us, and we will hold our shalom. By the time we get to chapter 15, we have a look and we see, now they sing the song of Moses. Interesting. This is a song that they're singing because they see the hand of Yahuwah and what the great work. And Israel saw, verse 31 of chapter 14, and Israel saw the great work which Yahuwah had done in the Mitzrayim. And the people feared Yahuwah and believed Yahuwah and His servant Moshe. But it was short-lived, wasn't it? So, do we really see Him in signs, wonders, miracles? We see Him in all the signs, wonders, miracles, but do we fear Him? No. The fear of the Yahuwah comes when we have the wisdom of who He really is, not just in the signs, wonders, and miracles. Because He does signs, wonders, miracles for people all the time, doesn't mean to say that people serve Him the way that they should wholeheartedly. It's when we really surrender and submit to Him that we really come to know Him. You will seek me and you will find me when you seek for me with all your heart. You're not going to know Him just because you see a sign and a wonder and a miracle. Yet isn't it amazing that in this day and age, people will rather seek after signs, wonders and miracles more than they seek after the face of the Father, because they rather seek His hand than seek His face. 90% of the people would rather seek His hand than seek His face. It's a small percentage, really, that seeks His face. That's why He says, narrow is the way that leads to life, and few find it. Why? Because it's a very narrow path. And so this is really known as the Song of Moses. And where do we see the Song of Moses? None other than Revelation, chapter 15. Understand, the book of Shemot has started with a people. And this is a people. Again, a house. And this house has got a beginning and it's got an end. And He's going to raise up a priesthood. And who is the priesthood? The priesthood is the ones that are going to be able to be the faithful remnant for the Father. That is the true priesthood. We are all called to be prophets and priests. We are all called to be priests and kings. But yet at the end of the day, how many will be obedient to the Father? How many will truly submit and surrender to the Father? Let's read Revelation chapter 15, verse 1. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 messengers, having the 7 last plagues, for the wrath of Eloah was ended in them. So see the plagues? They have just seen the 10 plagues. And I saw like a sea of glass mixed with fire, and those overcoming the beast and his image and his mark, and the number of his name, standing on the sea of glass, holding harps of Eloah. And they sing the song of Moshe, the servant of Eloah, and the song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous are your works, Yahuwah El Shaddai. Righteous and true are your ways, O sovereign of the set-apart ones. You see, what are they saying? Listen to what they're saying. Righteous and true are your ways. These people are walking in His ways. They have the Torah of Moshe, which is the truth of the foundational covenant, and they have follow the Lamb, the Spirit of Yahuwah, Spirit and truth. This is the Spirit. They follow the Lamb wherever He goes. They follow the Spirit and the truth. They have the foundational truth of the covenant, and they are led by the Ruach of Yahuwah to follow His every order, His every command, spoken and written. And who shall not fear you, O Yahuwah, and esteem your name, because you alone are kind, because all nations shall come and worship before you, for your righteousness has been made manifest. Your righteousness has been made manifest. So you see, these are the people that have understood. They fear Yahuwah. They fear Yahuwah. They don't fear him just because he's done great signs and wonders and miracles. They fear him because they love him and they want to keep his ways, and they bow to his purposes and to his plans and his ways. Then you look at Exodus chapter 15, verse 26. And here you see the essence of everything. Another foundational covenant for us, another foundational pattern for us, laid out for us. What does it say? And he said, if you diligently obey the voice of Yahuwah. So you see, understand, at the end of the song of Moshe, which are the people that you would then see singing this very song, following the Lamb in Revelation chapter 15. Interesting, it's Exodus chapter 15. What is the foundation that they stand by? What is it that they stand by? Listen to what he says. And he said, if you diligently obey the voice of Yahuwah, your Lord, and do what is right in his eyes, and shall listen to his commands, and shall guard all his laws, I shall bring on you none of the diseases I brought on the Mitzrites, for I am Yahuwah who heals you. Wow. Interesting. They were standing before the throne because why? They overcame the beast. They did not receive the mark of the beast. How can you receive the mark of the beast when you have the mark that was given to us on the forehead and the hand, where the commands are written on the tablets of our hearts, and the commands are on the frontlets of our eyes, on our hands? We are to meditate on them day and night. They didn't bow down to a beast system because they bowed down to Yahuwah. And this is what has protected them. They are keeping his ordinances, they're keeping his laws, and they are obeying his voice. They walk in spirit and truth. They are a balanced scale. They have Messiah Yahushua on the one hand, they follow Messiah Yahushua, and they have the foundational covenant of Moshe. What Moshe is going to give them, the commands. So do you understand? This is a balanced people. This is a people that are walking out spirit and truth. Spirit and truth. This is the people that are walking this out. And then we go to chapter 16. In chapter 16, we have a look at verses 4 and 5, where he talks about, and Yahuwah said to Moshe, see, I am raining bread from the heavens for you, and the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day in order to try them whether they walk in my Torah or not. So you see, right now we are being tested. All these things are coming and they tests for us to see, will we be obedient to the Father or not? Will we be obedient to obey the Father or will we not? These things, what was the wilderness for them? The wilderness was a bunch of tests to see if they would be obedient to the Father. So what is going on in our lives right now? We are being tested and we are being tried to be able to see if we would be obedient to the Father. Will we bow down to the beast system or will we stay faithful to the Father? And here we get another foundation that gets given to us of a pattern. So look at the pattern, the name, the feast, the thing of the feast. We have to obey his laws, his ordinances. We are going to see he will be a pillar of fire by night, a cloud by day. He's going to fight for us. We are to stand. We are to trust him. We are to believe in him. And now he's going to say, are we going to be obedient to be able to keep what he tells us to keep? And then he says, and it shall be on the 6th day that you shall prepare what they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. And so then we turn around in verse 22. Listen to verse 22. And it came to be on the 6th day that they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for each one. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moshe, and he said to them, this is what Yahuwah has said. Tomorrow is a rest, a Sabbath set apart to Yahuwah. So you see, now we get our next teaching that we to receive in our foundation, that we are, our plan that is being laid out for us. This is our foundational plan laid out for us. Now you need to keep a Sabbath. So you've been taught about a feast. You've been taught to be able to trust Him. Now He's going to give you manna from heaven, because you are going to believe Him and trust Him for the manna that's to be given to you from heaven. But 6 days you gather, but on the 7th day, because it's the 7th day of creation that is written for us already on the 7th day of creation, that the 7th day is a day of rest, and Abba Yahuwah Himself won't even give you food on that day, let alone you go out and go and buy for yourself, or take care of yourself, or go do whatever for yourself. He will not even give you food. And it says, and it came to be that on the 6th day that they gathered twice as much. And verse 23, and he said to them, this is what Yahuwah said, tomorrow is a rest, a Sabbath set apart to you. That which you bake, and that which you cook, and lay up for yourselves all that is left over, to keep it until morning. And then from verse 26 he says, gather it, verse 24, and they laid it up until morning, as Moshe commanded, and it did not stink, and no worm was in it. And Moshe said, eat it today, for today is a Sabbath to Yahuwah. Today you do not find it in the field. Gather it 6 days, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, there is none. And it came to be that some of the people went out on the 7th day to gather, but they found none. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, and this is what He will say to us today, how long shall you refuse to guard my commands and my Torah? This is what He would say to us today. How long will mankind not obey His command of thou shalt keep the Sabbath holy? Thou shalt keep the Sabbath set apart unto me. How long will you continue to stand against what I have put in place from creation? See, because Yahuwah has given you the Sabbath, therefore He is giving you bread for 2 days on the 6th day. Let each one stay in his place. Do not let anyone go out of his place on the 7th day. So the people rested on the 7th day, because the Father refused to give them food on the 7th day. Then chapter 17, when we get, so in chapter 16, He establishes His Sabbath. Before you get to the commands, He's already established 2 of His feasts, Passover and unleavened bread. He's already established His Sabbath, and we haven't yet got to the commands. They're already keeping the Sabbath, and we haven't yet got to the 10 commands. Because this comes from creation. And the feasts come from creation, because the sun, the moon, and the stars was given to us for His Moedim. And that comes from creation. So who is creation? Created by a creator to say, I will not do it. I just do my own thing. I will change the day and I will do my own thing. Who is mankind to do that? Then if we have a look at verses 14 and 16 and of chapter 17, it says, and Yahuwah said to Moshe, write this for a remembrance in a book and recite it in the hearing of Yehoshua, that I shall completely blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under the heavens. The Father will fight our enemies for us, as He fought the Mitzrites on our behalf, as He fought the army of the Pharaoh. And Moshe built a slaughter place and called its name Yahuwah Nissi, Yahuwah my banner, for he said, because a hand is on the throne of Yah, Yahuwah is to fight against Amalek from generation to generation. So that Amalek spirit that wants to annihilate us and destroy us, Abba will fight for us. And He will destroy Amalek, the spirit of Amalek that wants to annihilate and destroy us. Then, chapter 18, Moses is to teach the people the laws, and he's going to raise up leaders that will eventually teach the people the laws that was given by Yahuwah, and His commands, That is why Yethro comes, to be able to teach the people. Then we get to chapter 19, which is going to be, they come up to Mount Sinai, which is the same as Mount Horeb, which is where Moses was told by the Father, take off your shoes because the place where you stand is holy ground. And this is now when he's going to bring these Israelites before him on the mountain with his fire, with his lightning, with his thunder, with his shofar sound, with everything, to be able to now speak to his people his commands, to tell them how he wants to be served. And this is our foundation as we have worked through it, just in terms until we're going to get to Exodus chapter 20, and we are going to work through this chapter 20 to be able to understand what the Father is wanting to do, and how sad that at the end of this, he had to be able to build a tabernacle to be served, because they were supposed to become the tabernacle that was supposed to carry his presence. And praise Abba Yahuwah, because that is where we are today. That is why it is the law of the Spirit, not the letter of the law, but the law of the Spirit that is going to be written upon the tablets of our hearts. That is what the Father wanted to do with them here on Mount Sinai. And so in chapter 19, where he says, and you have seen what I did, from verses 4, and you have seen what I did to the Mitzrites, and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. And now, if, you see, if is a big word, because it's only for if. And this is the if that many people do not want to adhere to. And if you diligently obey my voice, and shall guard my covenant, then you shall be my treasured possession above all the peoples, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be a reign of priests and a set-apart nation. So you shall be a kingdom of priests. So we were all supposed to be priests. A set-apart nation. So we were supposed to be set apart unto the Father. Those are the words which you are to speak to the children of Israel. Interesting. By the time we get to the end of the book of Shemot, on the first day of the new moon, of the new year, that is when the tabernacle is erected. He raises up the tabernacle and he anoints a priesthood to be able to worship in this tabernacle. Now, he never wanted to dwell in a tabernacle made of man's hands, a building. He wants to dwell in our bodies. And that is why Yeshua has come, to restore us back to a Garden of Eden, so that we can once again eat from the tree of life, commune with our Abba Yahuwah, and be able to be those that become a tabernacle that can carry his glory, to become his hands and his feet extended on the earth. Because it's all about him, worshipping him, and being of service to him, and serving his people. And if that is not what we're doing, then we have missed the plan. It's not about me, myself, and I, and me, myself, and my family. It's about him and his family. That's who it's about. And that is what he's wanting. So we are supposed to be submitted and surrendered to him, so that we first and foremost serve him, and then serve his people. May Abba Yahuwah bless you all. Abba Yahuwah, I praise and I thank you for this wonderful plan that you have laid out for us, where you have shown us the pattern. This is your pattern. When we understand a pattern, it's so much easier for us to understand what we were supposed to be learning from the beginning, which we have been deprived of. We have been deprived of a pattern. We have been deprived of foundational truths that we were supposed to have received when we got saved. This was the pattern that was laid out for us. But we were deprived of a pattern. And instead we've been like chickens running around without a head, trying to be able to please you in so many different ways, when there is a way that seems right unto man, but its way leads to destruction. And that is why you are now bringing your people back to a foundation. And if we do not have a proper foundation, my people will perish for the lack of knowledge, because we don't have the knowledge of the foundation that we're supposed to have in our lives. And that is why the church has no power, and that is why there is no true glory, and that is why we are not seeing the greater works being done in the world right now. It amazes me how the disciples did such great and mighty things, and the only thing they had was a foundational covenant with the Ruach of Yahuwah. The book of Acts is to continue. But we have become so self-centered. Forgive us, my Father. Because we have come to the conclusion that you are here to serve us. And then we pride ourselves that we are the bride. Oh my goodness, Father. Help us, my Father, to become everything that you have created us to be. So that we can stop looking internally and look externally to what it is that you want for us to do in this greater world that you have put us in. Because we are here for the glory and the honor of your name in what we are to do. And so, Abba, I just want to praise and thank you that I can just give you glory and honor and praise for the revelations that you are giving us in this hour. Thank you for this word. In Yeshua's name I pray this. Amen.